episode of International Politics that was first broadcast in July 2013. It was at the launch of Justice Watch Ireland in Belfast, and now that I spoke to firstly Packy Carty, who told me about his situation and how he was interned in Maghberry Prison in the north of Ireland. He's now involved with the Justice for the Craigavon Two, which involves Brendan McConville and John Paul Wooton, who've been imprisoned for the killing of Constanble Carroll of the PSNI in 2009. He tells me how he got involved in that and how Jerry Conlon was also involved in that. After that, you'll hear from John Finucane, the solicitor from the Finucane family in the Pat Finucane Centre. He is also involved in the Justice for the Craigavon Two case. And then finally, you'll hear from a Moazzam Begg, who from Pakistan was imprisoned in Guantanamo Bay, later released, and he's also was over for the launch of Justice Watch Ireland.
I got involved with the Craigavon Two group to start off with, and out of that spurred the idea for Justice Watch Ireland. The last year I found myself 9 months basically interned by remand, which is happening to a lot of people who politically oppose the current status quo in the north of Ireland. Unfortunately, my political position found me in Maghberry jail. I was accused of possession of explosives with intent to endanger life. But when it came to the point where they had to produce evidence in court to substantiate these claims, I was released after 9 months. I lost my job. I found myself in a difficult position with my family and whatever. So I found myself back out in the state now, and you feel that you have to get involved. I became friendly with John Paul Wooton and Brendan McConville in Maghberry jail, and I've seen their case and I've seen how ridiculous it was. And everyone was shocked at that time that both men were convicted. But if you looked at it from the mainstream media perspective, it looked like a slam dunk case. But when you scratch under the surface and actually look at the facts of the case, you see how ridiculous and how wide open it is there. And if that's the burden of proof that two men go to jail for life, anybody could be open to that sort of case. So people we reached out and we get people like Jerry and others involved. All we ask
Jerry Conlon.
Yeah, Jerry Conlon and that involved. What we ask people is, we're not saying believe us, we're saying look at the facts. Here's the facts. We have the facts compiled, and all we say is look at the facts. This case stinks to high heaven. So in the back of that, you've heard yourself from other campaign groups there, including not just within Republicanism but also within loyalism, that there is something fundamentally wrong with the justice system in the north of Ireland. And on the back of that, we're hoping to find Justice Watch Ireland as a charity.
Great and stuff like that. So, John Finucane, can you tell me why you got involved with Justice Watch Ireland?
Well, I was asked to speak here today by Jerry Conlon. I've worked with Jerry on the Justice for the Craigavon Two campaign. I represent John Paul Wooton, who has been convicted along with Brendan McConville of the murder of Constable Stephen Carroll in 2009. There are a number of serious concerns around the legitimacy of that conviction, and Jerry Conlon has involved himself in that campaign. So when he asked me to speak at the launch of his organisation today, I was delighted to do so.
I was invited to speak here for the event by Justice Watch Ireland by Jerry Conlon, who has become a friend of mine over the years, particularly because of our interaction through our mutual lawyer Gareth Pearce, who had told me many years ago in 98 that it was first the Irish and then it would now be the Muslim community. And of course she was making reference to Jerry Conlon, what had happened to the Birmingham Six and the Guildford Four. My involvement today is really to try to understand some of the links and the parallels that exist between the former criminalised communities here and the present criminalised community in England. The look at laws that are being passed that affect us here and in the United Kingdom, like the Justice and Security Act, which seeks to introduce secret courts whereby people can be imprisoned and held, or their cases, which in mine in particular, can be heard in secret, which suggests there have been involvement of the security services in complicity in torture, and a sense of solidarity to tell the people over here that it's really important that whoever's been subjected to abuses by the security services must record, must document, and must present through the legal process and elsewhere to the community what's happening to them, because the silence by one of us affects us all.
Okay. And can you tell us just about how you ended up in Guantanamo and then how you ended up being released?
I lived in 2001 in Afghanistan with my wife and family, where we were working on a project to build schools that were in process and wells in the drought-stricken regions. I'd been visited by MI5 prior to that, so I was already on MI5's radar for some cases that I'd worked with Gareth on about torture. When I was eventually kidnapped from my house after I evacuated from Afghanistan.
Came into your house, took you out of
the CIA and the Pakistani intelligence services literally stormed into my house, put a gun to my head, broke down the door, shackled my hands behind my back, shackled my legs in front of my wife and kids, and carried me off to a secret prison in Pakistan. There I met the same MI5 agents who had come to see me in the UK. And when I was transferred to Guantanamo, the same MI5 agents were physically present. When I was being abused, they were physically present. So eventually, when I was released, I was never charged, I was never tried, I was never accused of committing any crimes. We did a case against the British government, and for all intents and purposes, we won an out-of-court settlement, which was beginning to show through court documents the British government knew exactly what was going on and were complicit in mine and the torture of many other people.